We live in a state of capitalism. Capitalism thrives off of individuality. Like, we need individuals. The more households we can break up, the more money we can get. A lot more rent, whole lot more debt. How do we fight against that is the thing, because we keep fighting against each other. And a lot of the things that we do are in response to the systems that we have to deal with every day.
There are some cultures who are still surviving and thriving. And what do they have in common? Strong families. That's how you combat that. Strong families. It's every measurable metric that separates you from being an upstanding citizen to a complete degenerate. That's the answer.
Like, you trying to get a woman to be emotionally or feelingly consistent. It's like trying to baptize a cat. It's hard and unnecessary at this point. Like, again, the girl that you meet at 25, even if she's perfect, right? Even if she checks all your boxes, when you're 30, she's not the same girl. When she's 35, it's not the same girl. When she's 40, she's auntie now. That's not the same girl. And the only time she's worked it is when she's acknowledging that her emotions are also up and could be an issue, and is making a concerted effort to deal with and address them, or to manage them or regulate them, and not just saying, well, this is just how I am. I'm on my period, so I'm gonna be a to you this week.
Do you think that most women leave the relationships for good reasons?
When we start saying good or bad, all right. So, all right, good reasons. I think that the way that, all right, do you want to talk about relationships, period, or marriage?
Marriage.
Marriage. Okay. Well, let's say marriage. Marriage is kind of a setup here, at least in America, because women are incentivized to leave a situation. If you know how to work the system, then you're likely going to be in a better position than you were prior to marriage, right? So you'll still be able to gain all the services, or most of the services, or the ones you care about, from the man, while not having to provide anything afterward, right? So I think that kind of ruins things. I think the leverage is just too much in the favor of how it's set up for, and we're going to say women, because it's okay if the person who has the financial advantage is usually the man, right? Let's just go with that, because we know it's in the 90 percentile of who gets this. So we can't act like it's not designed that way, because women usually reap the benefit of it. So I think that's our first problem. If it wasn't a financial benefit, if people had to work through it, if it wasn't as easy to get out of marriage, then maybe that might be different. Now, if you knew you were going to leave with nothing, then you see how eager people are to work through a situation. I think that's the first thing we need to fix, to where you no longer have that advantage. If we were able to get through that, then you can see what marriages would work and wouldn't work. If you can both just leave and, okay, y'all will split the kids, default at 50% custody, nobody pays nobody shit. I have them, you have them. I think we'd be in a better place as far as marriage is concerned. I don't think that we've had as many failures. I think people would be more reluctant to get into a marriage that they don't really want to, or know they shouldn't do. They probably would make a much more conscious decision about it if it weren't incentivized in that way, because in all honesty, women have nothing to lose by getting into those, right? Of course, if you get in with someone who is super toxic or abusive, that's another thing, but why would you do that in the first place, right? But outside of those rarities, you really don't have that much skin in the game compared to what men have to face. So I would say, yeah, that would be the first way to solve that problem, in my opinion.
Trev, I got a question for you. To your original point, you said you can understand the lady's commentary because being tied to a person comes with inevitable change. That's sums up kind of what you said, right?
Right. Well,
why do you?
Yeah, that's part of it. But I think that the main issue why that's a problem is because of the way that the relationships were manifested in the first place. So we would never come to that second part of the issue, in my opinion, if we went into the relationships more carefully, more intentional, if we were with each other for reasons outside of lust and money.
Okay, I agree with you on that. Why do you think? Because you said society is what motivates people to stay together and work through tumultuous, exchanges. But people have no problem committing to a lifetime of being a parent. And that's being tied to another person that inevitably will change. So why is that easier to commit to lifetime parent? Because once you have a kid, you're a parent forever. And they're going to grow and they're going to change and they're going to stop being grateful at times. Some, in worst case scenarios, end up being criminals, not going the pathway that you set them on, and so on and so forth. But people have no problem committing to that. Why is that? Because that's another person that inevitably will change.
It is another person, but that's a bloodline, right? They're literally part of you, so it's a lot easier to attach yourself to that. That's part of you, and quite frankly, a lot of people see that as an investment, right? That's your future, that's your legacy, and it's still an extension of you. Versus a person who, if you're unwed, then you really have no connection outside of that.
Okay, fair. And that's why I'm asking, because this blows my mind. I understand the DNA transfer, and I think that's a part of the core problem, right? If you're a child, you came from two strangers who met, who created bloodline, right? And that to me is the issue, is that somehow, some way, I don't know when we got here as humans, but we think that bloodline is like, that's the strongest connection. And the reality of being a parent is a thankless job. But to create family, you have to choose, just like you have to choose to be a parent. There's entities that you could drop your children off if you decide to not want to be a parent anymore. And I don't think most people would shame you. Maybe some would, maybe some wouldn't. But people seem to make a conscious choice. And I'm inquiring, I'm really curious. How is it that you can take on the path of lifetime commitment to sustain a whole nother human or a multitude of them, regardless of how they act? Because they're never going to be able to match your energy, your contribution, your sacrifice. But to your point, you said bloodline. And I'm trying to figure out, if we decide, once you create a kid with another person, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a science major, isn't there a certain level of bloodline connection because that kid's offspring came from two humans? Isn't there or is that not a thing?
Yeah, I mean, most people don't observe that as a thing. I would say that for sure. Most people don't observe that as a thing. Like, you have these one night stands who created babies all the time. People are denying paternity and whatnot. That's like, people really don't hold that with the same weight at all. And just like, all right, so let's give this as an instance. So you have friends that you would probably cut off pretty easily, but it's a lot harder to cut off your family, right? Most of us give our, at least I know for me for sure, I would give my family the benefit of the doubt. Whereas if it's someone who was a friend, I've cut off a lot of friends. Like, the hell with that. You were energy vampire, or you were not moving in the same direction I am, or whatever. But my family, which is that bloodline again, I would afford them much more opportunities than I ever would someone who's not blood. Does that kind of tie it together a little bit?
I hear you, but I don't think it makes any sense.
Well,
not
again, this isn't always the way that I operate per se. What I'm trying to do is just, I guess, speak to the other perspective.
Sure. I'm not, and it's not you. I know you're speaking in general.
I think a lot of the issues in the country in relationships really just falls down to like the Western culture. Like, we live in a state of capitalism. Capitalism thrives off of individuality. Like, we need individuals. The more households we can break up, the more money we can get. A lot more rent, whole lot more debt. And so, how do we fight against that is the thing, because we keep fighting against each other. And a lot of the things that we do are in response to the systems that we have to deal with every day. A lot of the things in our relationships are in direct response to systems that we have to live in and fight every single day. We're fighting poverty that makes people angry. We want to be happy. You're not making me happy. We don't promote good mental health. We really don't. It's really just a talking point at this point. Like, we're just saying it just to say it. When people tell you to get therapy, that's really just an insult. They're really just being condescending and insulting. So I don't
bro.
I
You know
don't
what?
tell people that. Huh?
Oh man, I didn't know you were. I didn't know you wasn't done, but I definitely got to respond to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I stopped telling people that they need to go to therapy. I ask people, do you think you need to go to therapy? Do you think you need to talk to someone? Because we really don't give a shit about mental health, and it shows every single day in our relationships. A lot of us have been affected by this Western culture. The only ones who are thriving are the ones who refuse to succumb to the pressures of Western culture. We still have to live in it, but you still have to understand that we are all individuals dealing with certain things. So like a lot of us have to carry a lot more grace and understanding when we are dealing with each other, because all of us are dealing with something. And I'm going to tie it into the conversation. It causes us to leave relationships for frivolous things. I had to go through everything. Like I had to go through so many scenarios. I had to talk myself in and out of leaving my husband, because I'm like, I don't want to leave a relationship that is viable. And I had to think long and hard about that, because I didn't want to be that person that just left for I'm unhappy. Why are you like, you have to figure out why. Is it you? Is it something that you are doing? Is it something that you are being unreasonable about? And if so, you're going to have to sit in this unhappiness and fix that. Far too often we just don't do that. So I think that most people leave. I think most people get into relationships they were never supposed to be in. Me. And I think that people who have really good relationships leave relationships for temporary feelings. I think a lot of that happens. And if we can eliminate the first one, then maybe we can work on the second one. Like if we can stop people from getting into relationships that they shouldn't even be in, I think that we can avoid a lot of that on the back end, and we can work on the other things on the back end.
All of
Bro, real quick.
women's.
I only got 30 seconds. This is 30
Take your
seconds.
time.
Only because Bo literally asked a question. And unfortunately, I was with you, Bo, but then you asked a question. You said, how do we combat that? You said, how do we combat that? Right? How do we combat that problem in Western civilization? But the answer is simple, right? We know what happened. And even in Western civilization, there are some cultures who are still surviving and thriving. And what do they have in common? Strong families. That's how you combat that. Strong families. It's every measurable metric that separates you from being an upstanding citizen to a complete degenerate. That's the answer, unfortunately, right? So that would mean that we would probably have to make those weird sacrifices for people that we don't necessarily get along with. It would be having a nuclear family where both parents are in the household, because that shows
That's fair.
Every single metric that leads up to our screwed up Western civilization, because we saw the decay of the country when it started. And when it started was when they were able to split us up, like you said, 2 rents, all of this shit, everything that is the opposite of strong families and strong relationships. That's the foundation, unfortunately.
We're talking about if women's feelings and temporary shit. All of women's feelings are temporary. Like you trying to get a woman to be emotionally or feelingly consistent. It's like trying to baptize a fucking cat. It's hard and unfucking necessary at this point. Like again, the girl that you meet at 25, even if she's perfect, right? Even if she checks all your boxes, when you're 30, she's not the same girl. When she's 35, it's not the same girl. When she's 40, she's auntie now. That's not the same girl. So men tend to be damn near the same. Once we get 35 years old, the majority of our personality is locked in stone. It's not going to change. We can't. That's just not the case with women. Is again, everything that y'all do, every time you tell somebody you love them, men should understand that you saying the quiet part is right now, or until you piss me off if your woman is trash. Like every time they say something positive about you, is how they feel about you in that moment. And then until you tell them no or you piss them off, then it's a different situation. That's what the majority of men are dealing with when it comes to women. So advising women or saying that, women should, not get relationships based off temporary feelings, then y'all will never be in relationships. How many niggas have all of y'all up here loved before? Like Love talk about the sweat off of his ass before. And then now you wouldn't shit on him or piss on him if he was on fire. Y'all all have that person. And you know why? Because your feelings changed. Like, so if you're basing shit off of a woman's feelings, you might as well just go put all your money in the most random crypto and hope that you hit the lottery, because it's just not going to happen.
If you're dealing with a woman's emotion and you're in a relationship, do you ignore it because you understand a woman's nature, or do you check it?
I don't think you don't ignore it. There's nothing you can check about a woman's emotions. They're hers. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to decide whether or not you want to keep allowing yourself to be subjected to them motherfuckers. Like, women's emotions are worse than Texas weather. Like, I'm telling you, you cannot bank on them. So either going to choose to deal with the shit because she's worth it, or two, choose not to. And the only time she's worth it is when she's acknowledging that her emotions are also fucked up and could be an issue, and is making a concerted effort to deal with and address them, or to manage them or regulate them, and not just saying, well, this is just how I am. I'm on my period, so I'm gonna be a bitch to you this week. Oh, because I'm bleeding out my ass and my pussy. Now I get to go, talk to you like you're crazy. Like, the women who don't use their emotions as an excuse for their piss poor behavior are few and far in between.
Do you feel like this has always been the way of women, or do you feel like this is
ever since that bitch Eve was fucking around with Adam?
Okay,
she was the first one.
Oh, if that's the case to Willie, then I would say that we need to, how do we hedge against it? But it sounds like we just need to ultimately have women in mass stop asking for long-term relationships if they in themselves are incapable of managing themselves with decorum, with balance, because they have the emotions. So they can't ask us men, who are strictly just very linear in the way we carry ourselves through earth.
Logical, exactly. They can't expect us to sign up for the many seasons that are their feelings and emotions. That would be erratic. That would be unsustainable. That would be foolish. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what most women should do, because one thing we know is most women don't listen. So what I would suggest that men do is that men start requiring a woman to be able to regulate her emotions and show that she has some sort of capability for emotional consistency before he commits to her long term. All the titties in the world is cool. All the ass in the world is cool. She can be saying all that other shit is fine. Again, if she can't regulate her emotions, then she's not going to be able to regulate her mouth. If she can't regulate her mouth, then she's not going to be able to regulate her actions. And then her actions are going to become habits. And next thing you know, you married to a bitch that's sucking dick because you didn't bring her home ice cream from Brahms when you went by yourself. Like, that's what's going to end up happening. It's going to be the most ridiculous shit in the world, and she's going to blame it on because of something you did that made her feel this X emotion, and that's why it's your fault.